Anyway, enough about religion. Let's talk about the stupidity of the right wing, the dishonesty of the right wing.
So religion.
Yes. The Volt, or the Volt. The Volt is an electric car. It's been named the European Car of the Year. Have you talked about this on your excellent show?
Have not.
Okay. The Volt has been named the European Car of the Year. It's having one of its best sales months ever.
Oh, the European Car. Yeah.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration gives it its highest crash safety testing rating. A year ago, they tested it, and they over-tested it, and the battery, one battery, blew up and caused a fire. Mm-hmm. And Rush Limbaugh, Neil Cavuto from Fox News, Bill O'Reilly, and Sean Hannity have been trashing the Volt and saying it doesn't work. It's an example of Obama destroying Detroit. And this is a car that gets 198 miles to the gallon. It works. It's an American car. It's an American car. It's made by Chevrolet. And the right wing is trying to destroy it.
So you're surprised that they're revealed again for actually being anti-American? Not actually standing up for not only America's values, but not even American workers. Of course not. They're all for shipping jobs overseas. They're all for everything that's bad for this country. And that's why I'm just surprised that people, still think that there's an equivalency on either side of these issues.
But how could they convince their listeners? How can they convince their listeners that an American-made car is crap? How are they able to convince them of this?
Because it's an electric car. And therefore it's evil, it's liberal, and it wants to take away your freedom because it's electric.
Right, mm-hmm. And they're fear-based, so they're in touch with their reptilian brain, which is afraid of anything new. It's suspicious. So this is something new. They tell me it's bad. They say I should hate it. It's got something to do with Obama, who probably is a Muslim, doesn't have a birth certificate. It's all that crazy stuff in their head.
It goes all the way back to them. They originally objected to electricity, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Well, it doesn't go back to Obama because it was President Bush who put in all the tax credits to encourage an electronic car to be developed. And yet we have these Republicans who are out to destroy the Volt, and sales are down in America.
Yes. Can I just say, David, that I saw a thing today on Facebook. Someone posted about an old Republican and the new Republican, and the old Republican was a picture of Eisenhower. And Eisenhower was saying that no politician or any politician who tries to do away with Social Security or Medicare and tries to come down on the working man's unions will find, sure there's a fraction of those people. They're always rich oil men in Texas. They're always And then they show the new Republican. It's Ron Paul. I'm against Medicare. I'm against Social Security. I'm against all unions. I'm against all that stuff. It's like, no, that's so this whole thing of like it's equal again. Again, it bothers me. It's like, no, these aren't principled Republicans. This isn't Eisenhower. This isn't who's the Arizona Goldwater. These aren't those guys. These guys that we're dealing with are total 100% bought and paid for. That's why they're coming down on the Volt, because it's on an oil car, doesn't use gasoline.
I was just going to bring that up, that the Republican Party is a subsidiary of Exxon.
Seems to be.
And so they've
been talking out very strongly against stopping the
oil subsidies.
The oil subsidies, yeah. Rand Paul, I heard him. He was like, I would think you'd want to encourage them if a company is profitable. He actually said that. He said, wouldn't you try to encourage them to be more profitable?
Well, the idea is, and it's replicated in the Paul Ryan budget, the idea is that in order to make rich people want to work, you have to give them more things. But in order to make poor people work, you have to take stuff away.
Right.
That's literally the thing. We have to take care of them. Well, why don't they work harder if they want these things? Oh, we have to give rich people more things or else they won't work anymore. It's the craziest thing.
So President Obama, to his credit, has come out against the tax subsidies for Exxon, which he said in a speech last week. He said Exxon makes $1 million an hour. That, in a week or two, that's some serious money.
Yeah,
it's better than babysitting.
we could probably fix the microphones in here.
So would you? Because there was an article by Joe Nocero in the New York Times, who's a pretty great writer on the op-ed page. And he talks about the right destroying the volt. He doesn't explain why they're destroying the volt. I do think it's Exxon. Mm-hmm. I do think the oil companies own the Republican Party. Yes. They're against any science that proves climate change is real. Why wouldn't they be against the volt?
Well, it's a perfect metaphor just to destroy progress. And who's this progress going to what will that progress afford a middle-class person? How much will be accessible to us? And it seems like anything that we could possibly hope for in the near future is dashed. Mm-hmm. How are we going to have access to anything? Certainly not any kind of car or vehicle that's going to save us money.
It's the perfect. It's when all these things come together for them to hate, David. It's Detroit, which Barack Obama bailed out. So they'd like to see Detroit fail, and Detroit isn't failing, so it makes them look bad. They have egg on their face over that because they were all against the bailout. And now Chevy has the car of the year in Europe. They have to try to make it look like a failure. So it's that. It goes against Obama. And so they can find a way to tap it into the reptilian fear of the moron who votes against his own interest. So it's got all these, plus the oil companies will be happy that they're trying to get rid of this electric car. So it's got all those things going for it.
And I saw the movie. What happened to the electric car?
What about Roger Rabbit? What about Roger Rabbit? We had trolley cars that went to the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
And the oil companies said, no, we want people driving.
Yes.
That was a combination of the oil companies and the tire companies wanting to, because they wanted to put tires on every bus. And trolleys don't use tires. So that was big money is ruined the mass transit in L.A.
It's destroyed Marin County. If you live in Marin, you can't get into San Francisco because the Golden Gate Bridge didn't build a train underneath. They were going to build a little train underneath the Golden Gate Bridge so the working class could find its way in and out of the city. Here's what I find so interesting about Republicans. And by the way, this does work better. This is why I try not to get angry. We had a little technical problem, and things happen for a reason, as they used to say in Darfur. Just go with it. GM will not take on the Republicans. They're even though they have a great product, the Volt, which I would buy if I could afford it. It's $40,000 before the $7,500 tax credit, which Bush gave us on that, not Obama. It's not Obama's car. Chris Perry, the marketing executive from GM, says, well, we don't want to draw attention to the lies that the Republicans are spreading about us because that will only increase Volt's status as a political punching bag. So they're just going to take the punches of the Republican Party, not even speak up for their own product.
Why is that?
Because they don't want to be a punching bag. They're hoping that people are going to forget. They're hoping that the product is so good it speaks for itself. You can't compete with that right-wing attack machine.
Well, but also that isn't going to be their purchasing public anyways. A Republican isn't going to go and buy that electric car. Right? That's not going to be their demographic, so they're going to have to figure out what their demographic is. But how much is it to start with? $40,000?
It's $40,000, and then you get a $7,500 tax credit. You're getting 198 miles per gallon.
So it's gas free. So you're saving a lot of money.
I don't know what it costs to charge.
I mean, think about how much. Well,
you got to plug it into your house, so that racks up your electricity bill.
You have to also set up a system to make it easier to do.
No, that's with that other car. But
here's the other thing that amazes me. Really, the bullheadedness of the right wing. Bob Lutz is the auto executive who has helped design the Volt. And he writes a column for Forbes. And he calls the right-wing attacks on his Volt, which he has shepherded, he calls them rabid, sadly misinformed, and he cannot believe that Republicans would be attacking his baby, and yet he's still a Republican. He cannot bring himself to turn his back on the Republican Party.
Well, if he's a moderate Republican, maybe he can vote for John Lindsay next year, or Jacob Javits, or
Rockefeller.
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like there is any such thing. The moderate Republican Party is now the Democratic Party.
Yes, right. Barack Obama's a moderate Republican.
All Republican Party is extreme right-wing, ignorance-based. And the idea of reasonable people like Dwight D. Eisenhower having policies that go away from from what they believe, that just doesn't exist anymore.
No, there's no one. No one challenges the status quo.
And the problem with that
Party.
too is that since the Republican Party is also extremely right wing, when they're on news shows, they're presented as reasonable.
Yes,
because they're in the mainstream of the Republican Party. So Paul Ryan,
yes,
and
that radical budget,
Chuck Grassley, and all these people, and Newt Gingrich. You know, when Newt Gingrich is going to drop out of the race, he'll be on the Sunday shows the next week. He'll be a regular commentator.
Yes.
They're not going to take anything he said during the campaign against him, because he is considered like one of the stars of the mainstream of the Republican Party.